The most common question I get is, Father Alex, when have you noticed that the people that fell in love with you the most, all of the things that, you'll notice that the people who fell in love with you the hardest are the people where you didn't do nothing to make them love you. That's just a fact. And so it's a common thing to do nothing and actually yield more results than consciously doing nothing, right? So today I'm going to show you guys how to do nothing and why that's important and what you can do. And it's actually kind of counterintuitive, because once you learn this principle, everything that I say on this channel becomes easier, okay? And if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, don't forget to go to mindfulattraction.org, and there you'll be able to book a one-on-one phone call with me today, and you'll be able to tell me about your issues, whatever situation you guys are going through. And don't forget to check out all of my courses. If there's a course that I recommend for this video, it's the psychological game of attraction and the feminine woman. It'll teach you guys how to go from dating from nothing to relationship, and how to embrace your masculine and your feminine, which is the feminine woman. You can click on the description down below to purchase that. With that being said, let's begin with the video, people. Yeah, that's right. Right, Father Alex got props now, people. Okay, so first things first, okay? We all gotta stop dating with your inner child. Your inner child is pretty much the source of your compulsivity. It's pretty much why you can't control yourself when you find someone you like, right? Whenever you find somebody that you like, the person that comes out to control your action is not you. It's not you. It's actually the part of you that is unfulfilled. The part of you that didn't get its emotional needs when you were a child, right? That's why it's really difficult for someone to seduce someone who is completely fulfilled. So the method today is pretty much an economy of motion. What do I mean by an economy of motion? Well, an economy of motion means minimal action. You do minimal action for the most results, right? And that's actually anti-child, because anti-child have excessive action. And that excessive action comes in the form of responding too fast and just going fast in general, and thinking short term. Meaning any strategy that you have, any strategy that you are trying to apply goes out the window whenever you're faced with something you truly want. Whenever somebody tells you what you want to hear, like a child, you're very gullible, right? You focus more on words and not action. So rather than trying to consciously overcome that in your child, what you want to be able to do is find a way to soothe it or heal it, right? When you soothe or heal it, all of the excessive creepy action that you do becomes minimized. So remember, the inner child, so it's not about, because when you try to consciously do less, you're gonna notice there's like an intensity that wants to do more, like a compulsion, and it's truly almost impossible to overcome it, because in the normal world, your inner child doesn't come out. It's actually your Jekyll and Hyde. But in the love area, the opposite sex reminds you of your relationship with your parents. And your inner child comes out and say, oh, daddy's here, mommy's here, for example, right? And it starts to take over your thoughts and action, and you regress to that moment, right? Almost like an arrested development. And that's what causes you to start to overreact, like I said, right? It makes you into a people pleaser. You got to remember, children want to please. And so it's almost impossible to stop your people pleasing if you can't heal that inner child, right? So, and that particularly translates to the things, your unmet needs. And if you are not aware of this, you're just going to let your inner creepy child control your dating life. And what happens is that when people meet you, they're going to say, wow, they're very confident. But once you like them, the mask falls away, the creepy child comes out, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I don't know about this. Well, that's because you walk around thinking you're healed because your inner child is sleeping, it's dormant like a freaking bear, right? And it becomes almost like startling when they see this other side of you, this other uncontrollable side of you, this other side that wants things quickly. And you can see how that actually pushes people away, right? So what you want to be able to do, like I said, is to ease that part of yourself, right? What do I mean by easing it? Well, rather than compulsion, rather than when you see rejection, you get super needy, you bring awareness to the sensation, right? You got to understand, your inner child is fed through your reactions, meaning acting out the needy, creepy behavior. When you feel a compulsion to act out, you see that mental projection. Oh my God, he's going to leave me. Oh my God, he's pulling away. And you react to it. No, I don't want it. Oh my God, how can I get him to like me? Let me do this. Let me text back. Let me respond fast. Let me stab him. And so that type of stuff, you're feeding it. You're like literally reacting to it. So how do you not react to it? Well, whenever you feel that needy emotion, just do nothing. Literally, you starve the needy child by paying attention to the feeling and doing nothing. That's what a child needs. Remember, children only want attention. If you ignore it, which you do because you react, you say, I don't like this feeling, let me remove it. That inner child is still not being paid attention to. So what you want to do, you be able to do is sense that sensation. Ask yourself, oh my God, my body needs validation. I need something. And just literally do nothing. In fact, don't even move and just breathe. And notice sensation. Rather than reacting to the thoughts, you bring awareness to sensation and the reaction lowers. And over time, each time the reaction arises, it passes away. Then because you're not feeding it, the next time it arises, it passes away. And then it arises and passes away. But then right towards the end, it'll get all of its power and it'll try, but then if you don't react and you just bring awareness to sensation, it'll pass away. And this is how you feed that inner child, right? No, that you give that child the attention that it needs. Remember, if you don't pay attention to the kid is going to cry harder and annoy everyone else, right? So this is pretty much it. And you could achieve this by doing different things, right? You could go to therapy. I started going to cognitive behavioral therapy. I find this really fascinating because it reveals to you your unconscious habits and desires, right, that are underneath the surface. And so literally talking about it with a cognitive behavioral therapist and telling them what's going on, your reaction, they'll literally show you this. It's kind of incredible, right? The next thing is checking out is a Vipassana retreat, meditation retreat. Vipassana, right? A Vipassana meditation retreat will allow you, this is the inner child, by the way, your little creepy ass self, will allow you to observe the sensation, which is pretty much what your inner child wants. And it allows you to be aware and sense everything that's happening. You'll literally experience this arising and passing away. But this arising and passing away is not going to feel like the inner child when you're dating. It's just going to feel like I want to stop meditating. But what it is that the same emotion that your brain uses to feel anxiety is what your brain uses when it wants to stop meditating. It's what your brain uses when it wants to use drugs. Everything is repurposed. You don't just feel an emotion in isolation. They don't just come out of nowhere. They repurpose everything. You get what I'm saying? So when you're meditating and you're doing this, you're just focusing on the sensation of the breathing. You notice a desire to stop meditating and you relax it away. But what you're not aware is that this desire to stop meditating is the same desire that you have when you're super needy. You're just not aware of it. And by observing it, you start to see the awareness. And then you say, wait a minute, these are not separate emotions. These are all the same emotion. And when the illusion is broken through either meditating or through having cognitive behavioral therapy, talking to someone, right? Or through somebody, or through life experiencing, showing you these patterns break. And the excess energy diminishes. And what tends to happen are these things, right? Is that, let me bring you guys closer right here. There you go, okay. All right, people, let's put Da Vinci right here. This is a Da Vinci painting my student did, by the way. Let me show you. This is done by my students, people. If you guys want to purchase it, I helped my student do this. You guys can purchase it for $400. Just let me know. I'll post it in my website. I'll post a link. $300 to purchase it, okay? So the next, so what will happen is this, right? Is that, let's put this right. You have proper boundaries. You gotta understand, a child, they're not good at boundaries, right? If you notice that, they're really bad at having boundaries. And when you don't have boundaries as an adult, as a child, you develop boundaries as you grow up, okay? And so when your inner child is acting on your behalf, one of the things that happens is that boundaries go out the window. Boundaries just go out the window. So that's the first thing that will happen, is that you will develop proper and healthy boundaries, okay? The next, and not just proper and healthy boundaries, right? But with consequences. And these consequences, because a child forgets, right? A child forgets the things that you do to it. And so when you have consequences, you have a long memory. Remember, children have a short memory. You hurt them, you abuse them, God forbid, and a child will literally forgive you for it. A child is like a freaking golden retriever, right? A child will do everything. A child will do everything to keep their relationship going. Okay? Remember that. So a child will, one of the psychological strategies for a child is to forgive. It's to give you the benefit of the doubt. And so this becomes very negative in a relationship. But when you heal your inner child, what you'll notice is that this becomes much, much easier. Okay? Now, the next thing is that you'll learn how to go slower. Remember, a child is impatient. A child is creepy. A child doesn't like waiting for things, right? And so by you healing your inner child through what I told you, you'll literally notice your impulsivity to get things quickly slows down and dies down to a realistic point of view, which pretty much comes down to me telling you, don't let people speed things up, right? The next thing is that you become less gullible. You gotta understand, and you spell better. A child is gullible because it needs to believe everything. It needs to trust its parents. And so its gullibility comes from a place of need. And also they believe words a lot. They believe promises a lot. They're prisoners of hope. Healing your inner child will allow you to see through people's bullshit. And you're not doing nothing. You're just healing your inner child. You're satisfying and meeting the needs of your inner child through the method that I talked to you about, right? It's gonna and the next thing is that you're more picky Remember, children are not picky with their friends. They want to be friends quickly, and as long as they have more friends, that's all that matters. And a lot of times people just want a relationship. They just don't want to be alone. A child doesn't like being alone. A child struggles with being alone. And so it literally allows you to be more picky, right? The next thing is that you'll see people as they are. A child needs to believe that their parents have superpowers. A child needs to believe that you are really strong and powerful like a superhero. Why? Because if a child doesn't believe that, they're going to feel insecure in their world. If a child believes and knows that their parents are stupid, well, then the child is going to feel so much stress that they won't be able to develop cognitively. And so they overcompensate by believing excessively in their parents, believing that they're superheroes. But what happens is that this childlike state, if you get hurt and your needs become unsatisfied during that stage, you stay with that mindset. So you're only going to see people in black and white. They're either good or they're bad. They're either narcissistic or they're great. They're either the love of my life or they're horrible. So that means that if you're dating someone and they're abusive, but you believe that they're great, you're going to keep believing that they're great. And then a few years later, after you're sick and tired of their abuse, all of a sudden you wake up and now you think they're Satan. There is no middle ground. There is no understanding nuance. There is no seeing the change as it happens. You either you're only there to see the finished product. You see them at first, they're perfect. But as they're becoming assholes to you, you only see who they are before it's too late. Right when it's too late. Everyone else can see it except you. But at that point, you're already wasting your time. So meeting your inner needs allows you to literally do this. It's kind of crazy, right? The next thing is that it allows you to spend boring time with the person. You gotta understand, a child needs entertainment. When you are dating with your inner child, you sort of don't like boredom, right? You want excitement, you want new, you like toxicity. You can never spend boring time with a person. You gotta understand, boring time is what makes people fall in love with you. Boring time is what makes people remember you and start to imagine intense memories. Because the brain requires boring moments. It's what allows you to get acclimated to them. You get used to them. It's like when you have a dog. If the dog is just there every day, you're gonna grow used to it, like seeing the furniture. You're gonna grow used to it. When it's not there, you're gonna miss it, right? But the problem is that your inner child wants to date with excitement. And sometimes that means toxicity. Sometimes that means like anyone that triggers my trauma, and you get bored. And so the good people who are good for you, you wouldn't date them because they don't traumatize you enough. They don't remind you of your trauma. You want that instant spike, right? Where boring time is like this. And then all of a sudden something happens and it goes like that. And this is actually a more healthy thing. The problem is that toxic people and people who date with their inner child, they can't handle this. Too much monotony, too much boredom, right? They can't handle that. And so and this is almost like a test. If you're dating someone and they're dating with their inner child, they're not gonna be consistent with you. This becomes a test. A test to you and to them, right? But essentially, if somebody really is gonna love you, you're gonna notice that they'll fall in love with boring time. Right? And it's actually the way to do it. This is the type of love that lasts long term. This one is a type of love that doesn't last as much. Okay? Now the last thing is that, like children, you're not nice. Because you stop being a people pleaser. And how this affects you is that it changes your nonverbal cues. Your nonverbal cues, how you project yourself, becomes more calm and more relaxed. And not being nice allows you to have more boundaries. But essentially, you're just going to have a more firm character. Where a child, because they're so flimsy and nice and creepy, it enlists people to be more disrespectful, to take advantage of them, to give them candy so they can enter the white van, that type of shit. It's kind of crazy. It's like, come on, child. Stop. Y'all still falling for the white van trick, little kid? Come on, man. I don't understand this. It's unbelievable. All right, so let's begin this. All right, so let's summarize this. So essentially, ladies and gentlemen, where is my drumstick? Let's give you guys a tour of this, man, because I know you guys are creepy people and like to see my apartment. But let me show you guys how to do it, okay? So essentially, by doing nothing means not dating with your inner child. Learning how to not date with your inner child because you tend to do way too much. It allows you to have an economy of motion because children do too much. And this, healing your inner child through therapy, meditation, right? And literally just not acting on your impulses will allow you to have the economy of motion, which pretty much you'll notice you're doing nothing. Like you'll pretty much sense you're doing nothing. And you'll be like, how did they fall in love with me? Well, because you're doing nothing. You're not overreacting. You're not acting. This motherfucker is the reason why you're so needy. You got to allow yourself to act with your adult side, the frontal cortex side. So the excessive action that comes from your inner child because of its wound is what causes you to text too much, respond too fast, have short-term memory, to believe words rather than action, to overreact, and become people pleaser. Why? Because you have unmet needs. And so when you overcome this through meditation, therapy, and literally not acting on your impulses like a drug, like a drug rehab, you develop proper boundaries, right? And not only proper boundaries, but they also have consequences. And you'll notice, you're not even noticing you're doing this. It's actually unconscious. You become slower in your response. You move slower. Like you become more smooth. You're less gullible. You don't believe what people say because you don't just believe in words. You allow yourself to spend boring time. Remember, children don't like boring time. They like to be overly stimulated, right? Remember, that little kid's a creep right here. And they learn how to not be nice all the time. Like it's just that they're nice, but not all the time. Don't forget, people, 300 pesos, the Leonardo da Vinci painting. Dollars, people, not pesos, right? You can go to the description down below where it says purchase the painting. And this is how you do it, man. Like I said, it's pretty much just controlling your impulses, all right? You're not doing much. When you act out of emotion, out of neediness, out of creepiness, it pushes people off and you do way too much and you just come across as insecure. Healing your emotions, healing your impulses will literally cause you to do less. And people will fall more in love with you. You're gonna look more natural, all right? Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click it on the description down below to purchase the painting. It's $300. And I'll send it to you. It's with oil paint. If you guys want to work with me one-on-one, go to mindfulattraction.org and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.